Thank you to Kelly Appel and Nick Vanelli for helping to coordinate this exciting event. And thank you to Excel Energy for sponsoring today's meeting. Am I going in and out? Nodding off. We have a full agenda today, but the Chamber does promote and support each other, so keep the conversation going after you leave here. We have had an exciting year, and I would like to thank all the board members. It's a privilege to work with you throughout the year, and thank you so much for your service. Rob Elvin from Guaranteed Rate, Jules Benson from Birchwood, Ben Blum from Running Aces, Tom Campbell from First Resource Bank, Rob Collins from Collins Law Office, Jesse Johnson from State Farm, Bruce and Jesse Johnson Agency, Tammy Kasprowicz from OSI Physical Therapy, Bob Kohlross from Polaris Industries, Larry Martini from the Forest Lake Area School District, Lisa Stegner from Timeless Elements Med Spa and Laser Center, Matt Stevens from Stella's on 97, and Steve Whitaker from Whitaker Buick GMC. So thank you to our board members. This year our board chair is Rob Collins, who has been instrumental in putting our new action plan into motion. Without further ado, our board chair, Rob Collins.
I'm Rob Collins with Collins Law Office. Right now I'm the chair of the Forest Lake Chamber Board. Before we get started, I do want to make one more thank you, and that would be to Colleen. She tirelessly is making sure that our board is doing what it's supposed to be doing, making sure that she's promoting the Forest Lake Chamber and its members, making sure she's using members, making sure she's referring members to other members. She does a wonderful job, and I think she deserves a round of applause. Thank you. Briefly, recapping our fiscal year results, we had a revenue of just over $89,000, expenses of just over $76,000, with a net income of roughly $13,000. 2012 golf results, we had 16 corporate sponsors, 76 golfers with a net income of $8,499. The number of members at the end of the fiscal year was 191. I think we accomplished, in May, our board met at our annual retreat. We accomplished our goals for the 2012-2013 year. Some of them maintain and continue to be ongoing, such as the board calling. I don't know if any of you have received phone calls from your board members, but the board members try each month to make about 10 or so calls to different chamber members just to say hi, see how things are going, and let the members know that the board members are accessible. Last year, the board formed a team to plunge for the Forest Lake Rotary's Winter Plunge, and we raised a few $1,000s doing that. They are intending to do that again this year, and so if you can either plunge for the chamber or you can help pledge for the chamber. Here, now I'm hearing some mumbling out there. It's a good fundraiser. This year we're also weaving in a cash raffle as a way to kind of bridge us through this year. So to the extent possible, we would like you to help either sell tickets or buy tickets for a cash raffle. Any of the board members has them, and you can pick them up from Colleen too if you'd like to sell them at your business. Moving on to the awards. Our 2013 Business of the Year nominees: Gavia Inc., Dory Selby, is a past board chair and serves on the marketing committee. Gavia has taken part in a variety of chamber events, including Business Day, Lake Festival, and Lake Fest. Polaris Industries, Bob Kohlross is currently serving on the board of directors, and Polaris is a sponsor of the annual golf event and Lake Fest. The winner of 2013 Business of the Year is OSI Physical Therapy.
Well, I don't know. I've never been here, so do I? I got a notebook out back.
Well, this is the first time Pete or I have spoken in front of this group.
Well, we were honored to even be nominated for this award. I know Tammy was really excited. You guys probably know her better than me. She's my business manager at OSI. We are right across the way, right on Broadway. We've been there for 20 years. And we're a private company. This is one of 9 locations for OSI up here in Forest Lake. And there's just 4 of us that work there together. And really, we're not affiliated with any doctors or hospitals or anything. We're here, we're a private company, and we really are alive because of the word of mouth and referrals from people like you. And Tammy was really grateful to be part of the chamber and have all the networking opportunities she's had through this. So thanks again. It's a great honor for us to get this award.
Our chamber volunteer, it says it's on, but it's not working. Diane Deach from Central Bank. Diane helps with registration at various membership meetings, our golf event, and donates various items to our holiday luncheon. And Diane from Central Bank. Tamara Kennedy from Taco John's. Tamara has moderated a membership meeting and is a sponsor of the annual Breakfast with Santa event. She's been instrumental in the promotions and events during our Broadway Corridor construction project. Our winner of the Chamber Volunteer of the Year Award, Keith Hegstrom from VSW Health. Keith has volunteered at the annual golf tournament for several years. He staffs one of the Chamber's betting holes in the back 40 and also helps with planning and setting up that event.
Colleen usually keeps me way in the back 40, so nobody gets to see me, but eventually somebody gets to see me because you have to come to my hole. Thank you very much. Wow.
Our Chamber Volunteer of the Year Award. Our first nominee was Dave Purdy. Dave founded Wealth Management Midwest over 25 years ago and has been a community volunteer ever since. He is a past Big Brother volunteer, a volunteer for the Lakes Area Youth Service Bureau, and is currently a board member there. Serves on the board of Fairview Lakes Health Services and is an active member of the Forest Lake Rotary Club. He's an energetic, uplifting type of person that makes you feel good talking to him. When you do talk to Dave, you know he's listening to you. Linda Madsen. Linda is the superintendent of our schools. She has had an incredible level of involvement long before she became superintendent, and her involvement continues. She is a board member of the YMCA Lino Lakes and head of the Y Partners Annual Campaign for Community Support. She is a board member of Lakes Area's Youth Service Bureau, heading our strategic planning initiative. She collaborates extensively with the Forest Lake Chamber on many events and projects, including Lake Fest. Linda is an active member of the Forest Lake Rotary Club, and she rolls up her sleeves and digs in whenever needed. Our winner of the Community Volunteer of the Year award this year is Jim Tudrell. Jim has spent a lifetime of community service in Forest Lake area. He spent 29 years working in law enforcement, including serving as the Forest Lake Police Chief and Washington County Sheriff. Jim co-founded the Lakes Area Youth Service Bureau 36 years ago and has been involved with it and a champion of youth ever since. Jim renovated Castlewood Golf Course and made it a Forest Lake jewel. He continues to serve on the Public Safety Committee for Forest Lake. Jim is well known for his MC ability at retirement dinners, Lakes Area Youth Service Bureau, and other community events. Jim's wit and ability to tell a story is legendary.
Well, I certainly don't have the wit that Jim has, but for most of you are probably aware he's not doing too well, and it is absolutely driving him crazy that he can't be here today. Jim loves Forest Lake. He loves everybody in this community, in this area, and as I said, I know it's just driving him nuts because this 1 hour luncheon will probably be a 3 hour luncheon by the time you get done with the wisecracks and the jokes. So on behalf of Jim and the family, I'd like to thank the Chamber and everybody for the nomination. I'm sure he will really enjoy this today. One more thing I just have to add. As a former resident of this community, my father was a business owner back in the 60s, and I believe, if my memory serves me correctly, he was part of the Chamber. So it's nice to be here after all these years, and I got to tell you, this is just a wonderful place, and whatever you guys are doing, you're doing a good job because it is just fabulous. So keep it going. Thanks.
I would also like to take an opportunity to thank the 2012-2013 board chair of the Chamber, Tom Campbell from First Resource Bank. Tom, are you here? Yes. Would you like to come up, Tom?
I just want to thank the entire board in Colleen. It was a pleasure serving as the chair. Look forward to continue serving on the board. And wish Rob best of luck and keep doing well out there.
I think at this point, Colleen, I'll turn things back over to you.
All right, thank you to all of our award nominees and recipients. I appreciate everything that you do for the Chamber, for the community. We wouldn't be as successful without you, so thank you so much. We have an exciting opportunity to meet and hear firsthand from second and third generation businesses that we have in our community. We have quite a few in our community, second, third, and fourth generation, and that's really something to be proud of. And I am very proud of the people who have offered to speak on the second and third generation businesses' behalf. So we are going to have everybody present the 5 speakers, and then we'll open it up for Q&A at the end. Does that make sense? Leading us off, just a couple things about first, second, and third generation businesses. Family businesses comprise 90% of all business enterprises in North America and 62% of total U.S. employment. Only 30% of family businesses in America will be passing the reins to the next generation, even though close to 70% would like to keep their business in the family. By the third generation, only 12% of family businesses in the U.S. are typically still viable. by the fourth generation and beyond, only 3 of the family businesses continue to exist. So we have quite a few fourth generation businesses in our community, so very something to be proud of. For the environment for innovation and family businesses improves when more generations of the owning family are actively involved in the business. And the oldest family-owned business operating in the United States is a Symbol Company in Norwood, Massachusetts, founded in 1623 in Constantinople, and moved with the family to the United States in 1929. So very exciting there. There's still quite a few different generation businesses up and coming. So J.R. West from Scandia Heating and Air Conditioning is a second generation businesses, and I am very honored to welcome J.R. West.
In the 60s. And he didn't want to necessarily stay working on a factory job, so he went to a local business in Osceola and got a job there. And the only reason he got the job was because he actually knew the part numbers that he was stuffing in the box at Honeywell. He didn't actually know what those parts did, but when the guy asked him about them, he could tell him what the part was and the part number. So that's how my dad got into the heating and air conditioning business. He worked there for probably 4 or 5 years and decided that he wanted to take a different route and went farming for 20 years. Farming isn't necessarily a way to really make a living unless you want to work hard. So he eventually got out of farming and into the heating and air conditioning business again. He had bought a business in Hudson with 2 other gentlemen, and they were partners. And then Scandia Heating came up for sale, I want to say it was 1987, and they decided to buy Scandia Heating because one of the gentlemen lived over here. And it ended up that Dad was running the residential business in Scandia Heating, the other 2 were running the commercial business in Hudson, Wisconsin. After about a year, they decided to part ways. So then Dad was the sole owner of Scandia Heating at that point. I graduated from high school in 1991. I assumed I would probably go into the heating and air conditioning business, but I did not want to start the rest of my life at 18. So I went to college in La Crosse and got a 4-year degree. I actually have a bachelor's of science in geography, so I can find your house when you call us. So I can read a map and get there. Same thing with GPS, that's obsolete. So I worked with Dad. Actually, after I graduated in 95, I moved back up to the area, went to work with Dad at Scandia Heating. Worked with him when he retired, I'm going to say 2007. So for 12 years we worked together. I was covering his back, making sure we were doing good, making money, getting the jobs done. Then it was time for him to retire and me to take over the business. I started writing checks to him. He quit coming to work. So since I bought him out in 2007, I asked him for his input. He will give it to me eventually after I hound him a couple times, but he's got this thing where he thinks he'll offend me when he gives me his opinion. And he doesn't assume or understand that when I'm asking him a question, I really want his opinion. And part of his philosophy too is he's seen generational businesses where the kids take the business and go sideways, and everybody's heard of that kid now owns the business and it's not what it once was. So he doesn't want to step on my toes, which it's working. When I need his opinion, he gives it to me. But as you get into a second generation of business, I have felt that where some of the customers, they're still talking about my dad and about the way he used to do stuff, and hopefully they like the way I do it. It's changed considerably since my dad started doing business. It started changing. Now it's, we used to just go out and people were happy that we came and took care of it. But now you've got customer relations, you've got to have soft skills, and you've got to really understand the customer and have empathy with them. In a service business, it's not just come and fix it and get done and get out of there. They want to know that we're involved and we care about them and we're going to stand behind what we do. So our business has actually changed quite a bit in the last 5 to 7 years. With the internet and stuff, now people can find things anywhere. They can look parts up and find stuff, and if you want to, you could find what you need to fix your furnace. But that doesn't have a warranty standing behind it. That doesn't have a company that cares that's going to show up at 2 o'clock in the morning and fix your problem for you. So as the generations go along, the business is always changing because our country is changing and the people are changing and the way you have to deal with people changes. So I think that's one of the, not only generational, but anybody owning a business, you have to pay attention to what's happening out there and how you deal with people. So, is that my 5 minutes?
Lee White is with Olson Sewer Service, Olson Excavating Service. She is a second generation business. Lee White. So Olson Sewer Service was founded in 1954 by my parents, Bill and Verna Olson. At the young age of 25, my dad decided it was time for him to go out on his own, be his own boss, and do his own thing. So he left a good paying job. He was a mechanic at Gruock Trailer. And he told my mom, if we have one job a day, we'll be okay. We'll have food on the table and a roof over our head. So that was the beginning. He did a lot of odd jobs in addition to septic tank pumping because we needed to fill the gaps. I had to get that one job a day. And then expanded into installing tanks and full sewer systems. Our business was based at our home in Coon Lake Beach until about the mid-60s when we moved to Columbus. They worked very hard and included my dad's brother John in the business and then later on his brother Dale. And Dad will tell the story about hard work and how my mom kind of paid some of the price for that too. One of her gifts, wedding anniversary gift, was a big new pump truck. So you have to decide how you're going to look at that. Is that a wonderful piece of jewelry, or was that just a big pump truck? But she carried on. So I have a few slides today, and they kind of show the history of the company through some of our print advertising. So this is one of the earliest flyers that we had. And I'm not sure if we were paying by the letter at that point in time. You can see it's very short, very succinct, sweet, and to the point. But this is an ad, a flyer from 1956, and it features one of the trucks, kind of a cute little truck. I wish we still had that one. Anyways, you can see that things were a little bit different there for advertising. This was clearly done long before color printing was readily available. Telephone numbers were a little bit different back in that time. I think we were actually on a party line out at Coon Lake Beach, and you could kind of hear everybody's business if you picked up the phone and listened. But we still have the 2082 number that was used back in that day. This ad is from 1976, and it's from one of the Forest Lake Times Progress editions, hence the title, Look at Our Progress. You can see in this picture, it's a little faded out there, but this pump truck is a little bit different, breaking from tradition. This truck was red, white, and blue. Again, no color printing, must have been a budget thing, but red, white, and blue, and it was done that way to honor our country's bicentennial celebration. So, okay, well, you can also see that on this ad, we've got a little more copy. I think maybe things are going better, then we could pay for more copy. But we're starting to talk here about trenching and backhoe digging. And diversification and asset utilization were as important then as it is today. And Dad was very good about making sure that if he had that backhoe, it was going to do whatever we had to do to keep it busy. So expanded from installing septic systems to digging basements, digging additions for homes, doing sewer and water hookups, doing water main breaks for the city of Forest Lake way back when, and also digging graves. So you can see, you've got to put that equipment to work. He was also a real leader in our industry. He was a charter member of the Minnesota On-Site Wastewater Association. His goal was really to kind of elevate the industry and also educate consumers on wastewater treatment and taking care of their systems. So here we get to an ad that's a little more current. Finally some colored ink, and we got a pink truck in the picture. So why pink? We get this question a lot. Why pink? Who would pick pink trucks? Why not? You know, in the 50s, we're going to flash back to that time. In the 50s, being in the pink meant that you were healthy, things were good, life was great. Well, Mom and Dad had a lot of decisions to make when they started this venture, and among those decisions was what color do we paint the truck. And my Aunt Dagmar and her husband, my Uncle Ernie, were having coffee with my folks, and Aunt Dagmar suggested pink, because in the pink
means things are working well. So if you wanted to have your sewer system working well and functioning right, maintained properly, you had to call Olson's. So I don't know if they knew then how important that color was going to be as time went on, but it's a huge part of our brand, and it is a reflection of our corporate culture. Highly recognizable, fun, positive, honest, and today being in the pink still means being healthy and in good life. So, and let's see, we'll talk a little bit about my brother here too. John started working in the business part-time in 1972 and then came into the business full-time in 1981. Now this does not include his childhood sandbox time, operating his crews and his Tonka toys. He had a passion for moving dirt and getting things done as a child, and he's a natural talent behind the stick in that excavating equipment. And he really took our business to the next level by continuing to expand the excavation side of the business with our municipal and commercial customers. So that led us to more pink combined with that cat yellow, or we call it cat gold. So Ziegler had done an article on our company talking about building on tradition, building on the color pink, and then also the addition of more and more of their cat-colored equipment and how the two complemented each other. We are also more recently featured in an industry publication called Pumper. We'd like it to call it something else, but Pumper it is. And that, I know, what can you do? It is what it is, right? So the article in there focused on our customer service philosophy, and that is actually John on the front cover. It's not exactly Rolling Stone, but it works for us. So I came into the family business in 1994, bringing a marketing and franchising background to the table. And my husband Dale joined our company in 2005, and he works with us as a estimator and project manager. He had quite a bit of experience in that area in manufacturing capacities. And our last ad here is one of the Business of the Week ads from the Forest Lake Times, and it really focused on the newest addition to our fleet. It's a truck that's set up for jetting, cleaning, confined space entry apparatus. It's got tools, compactors, power tools, PVC piping, ladders, everything you could want if you are working out in the field. And we call it our all things to all people, I guess, giant solution box on wheels, our efficiency builder. And this truck was designed based on feedback from our crew. And Dan Utek, who's been with us since 1979, designed it and built all the interior of the truck itself. So we're really happy to have that. And like I say, Dan's been with us since 1979. A majority of our employees have been with us for a very long time. We're very fortunate to have very low turnover and a really great team. Colleen had said, one of the things you might want to talk about, Lee, is why have you been around so long? So to sum that up, I'm just going to give you 4 points here. Being diversified, so we were better leveraged to get us through the tough times. Taking care of customers, and that includes our employees and our vendors. Doing the right thing as best you can, the golden rule is still golden. And being involved in your industry and supporting your community. So we're celebrating our 60-year anniversary this spring, and we're very happy to do that and thankful for all the years in this community.
Thank you. Lee is a past board member also, so we appreciate all of your service to the chamber and our community. You can't miss those pink trucks. One of these years they are going to make pink smoke. Wouldn't that be a great idea? No? Pink smoke. Come on, out of the exhaust. Okay, nobody's with me. All right. Blake Roberts with Forest Lake Floral and Gift and Garden, a second generation business. Welcome. Third generation. Holy smokes, you'll have to clarify that. Thank you.
We had the privilege to do business with both JR and Lee when we did a project here a couple years ago, and there's a reason why they're another generation. They've been a great asset to the community, and they do a great job at their work, so I appreciate that thing. So one thing that we would love to have stolen from the Olsons is the pink. I mean, if you're a florist, you should be pink, right? And unfortunately, they beat us to it. But who doesn't know what pink trucks mean in Forest Lake? So it's kind of neat that you have that. So Just kind of a history. 1930, my grandparents, Margaret and Harold Waldo, opened up Forest Lake Floral in the same location we currently are, just on Lake Street there. They also, along with that, was my great uncle who had started the business with them. And they, similar to a lot of garden centers, similar to, say, Bachman's and, am I coming in okay? Or, the Bachmans and the Linders of the world, you started out as truck vegetable farmers, and that's how those businesses got started way back then. And then at one point they found out that they could make more money off of cut flowers than vegetables, so it was kind of a slow transition. And over the years we stayed in the garden center business, but we really did focus on the floral part of it. In 1976, my parents, Mick and Sandy Roberts, bought the store from them. This is a picture. This is a picture of them here with at the time the grandkids that were born.
Maybe you're not using it.
Just talk loudly.
Yeah. All right. So in like I said, 1976, they bought that from my parents, from my grandparents, and in 2002 we purchased it from them. When I say we, there's myself and two brothers, Corey and Kelly, are also in the business as well. And you know, a couple of things of longevity. There was some things that longevity of business. It has to do with, I think, being involved in the community. We had put a survey out here just recently, and one of the questions was asked, why do you do business with us? And more times than not, the biggest response was because you're locally owned and community involved. And so that's kind of what we've really focused on, is trying to be involved in the community. We've been fortunate that this community has supported us for so many years, and we just try to give back as much as possible. In 2005, we opened up Roberts Family Funeral Home, and that's part of diversifying. The floral business is changing, just like many other industries, but with different competition with internet and big boxes, we knew that we needed to diversify since we're going from supporting one family to 3 families. So in 2005, we did that. My brother Kelly in the center stepped away from the flower shop, and he's now operating that. What's working and what's not working? Well, there's a lot of things that aren't working. Like most of you, you've experienced the 2008 and the economy. We live on discretionary income in the flower business, and if there's one thing that people need to cut out, can cut out, it is flowers. It's not something that you absolutely need. So we focused on different things, trying to, again, we're not going to be able to compete with price, but we're going to be more so competing with customer service and just providing a good product for those people. So that's kind of what we've done over the years to make it work. 4th generation, you know, it was funny, I told my daughter today that I was going to speak about generation. She goes, well, I want to be one of the 4th generation. And it makes you proud, but yet at times, with everything going on and how the economy is, you wonder if maybe that's the best call for it. But it's kind of great that there is another generation that's interested in coming up. I'd like to thank you for the opportunity to come up and speak. I see a lot of familiar faces in the crowd. Because of you, that's why we are at our 3rd generation, hopefully the 4th generation. Thanks.
B. Zaruba with First State Bank of Wyoming is a 3rd generation banker. B. Zaruba.
Thank you. And coming here cold because I have not seen the slides, so we'll see what they show. I suggested to Chris what we might want to put on them. But the bank was founded on June 11th, 1914, so next year we will be 100 years old. And just something to celebrate. Mr. McClintock that started the bank in 1914, in a way I almost think of us as 4th generation because he was family to us. My dad graduated from commercial college in Mankato and came to the bank in 1939. Mac took a chance on him. His name was E.R. McClintock, but we all called him Mac, and many of you probably still remember Mac. And how he welcomed my dad. And a year later, Mom and Dad were married and came and made their home in Wyoming. Because of the distance and the time, we didn't travel much back to the Mankato area. So the McClinnocks and some of the other old-timers in Wyoming became our family. So in a way, it's been a family bank from when Mr. McClintock started it. Dad came in 1939. Both my brothers tried working a little bit there out of college, and then they hired my husband Myron in 1960. 1978, I came in full-time with Myron. We never dreamt that we would be managing and living our lives in the bank. This was not in our plans originally, but that's where we ended up. Our middle child, Mark, from the time he was little, wanted to be a banker. And he graduated from college, and in 1987, Mark came into the bank. And today, Mark is the CEO running the bank. Myron and I still pop in. We still have our fingers in some things. We have board meeting this afternoon that we'll be a part of, and I do all the work for the board yet. And once in a while we get involved in the loan or in the personnel decision or whatever they need us for. And in 2002, our youngest son became a part of the bank staff. Tim had a degree in computer science and then went on later to get his MBA, and he is now managing the mortgage department. So the bank, the family has been there. There are grandchildren that who knows, with one day one of them might, the bank is still there, come in. We're proud to be a hometown family-owned bank. Personal service is what we do best, and proud of who we are and the fact that we are a family and we work together in the bank. It has gone really well, and we're so proud of our boys as they work together. Our daughter is actually on the board. She lives in Duluth and is a neonatal nurse practitioner. Will not make the board meeting today because she worked all night last night, but is part of the family and part of who we are. Let's look at the slides and see what we're going to see. Okay, that's a picture of Mom and Dad. Who knows what time it was taken. Mom actually came in 1952, started working in the bank with Dad, and they worked until they retired, and then spent most of their time in Arizona. Okay, this is today's leadership team. Tim, Myron, Mark, and I at the entry of the bank, and Nate Wilner, one of our employees, is in the picture on the right that we have enjoyed again, part of our, and Christy Nelson, part of our leadership team. The employees, this was taken this summer as in preparation for celebrating our 100 years next summer. And there we are. Thank you.
Thank you, Bea. Ben Winnick, third generation business, family-owned company, over 90 years of service. Ben Winnick.
Thank you. Everybody's already seen my slideshow, All right, so Winnick Supply. A lot of people don't know what we do. It's kind of we get that a lot. We focus on contractors mainly, but the entire business started with my grandfather, quite a bit different than it is now. But we do focus on steel, welding supplies, plumbing, heating supplies, and that all grew out of one person. But it's been an interesting trip. Currently, we sell over 12,000 different items. 90% of it is American made. That's something I'm very proud of. So we're going to go back to the beginning and talk about my grandfather a little bit. I think everybody knows Fiddler on the Roof. Well, my grandfather basically kind of mirrored that story as Tevye, the milkman. He was a milkman back in Russia, in a very small village, and he's seen the writing on the wall before the communist revolution came in and World War I. He decided to get out of town and ended up coming to Minnesota. He had some relatives there. So this is one of the very few pictures we have of my grandfather. He was he moved up to Forest Lake and decided, to be a traveling salesman. He was selling farm goods, different wares like that. And a lot of the people he sold to didn't have any money to pay for it, so he ended up bartering a lot. And I think that's kind of where the whole scrap and salvage business came out of. A little close-up of my grandfather. He was probably the poorest man in Forest Lake. There was no welfare. There was nothing back in 1920 when he started out. And had to do something to survive. And he did. My dad used to always talk about that he wasn't a very good businessman, but somehow he ended up surviving. Luckily for him, Prohibition came along. And he found out he was a pretty good bootlegger at the time. So with a young family growing in Forest Lake and having to make ends meet, you have to do what you have to do. He was lucky to have the local police department help him out. He gave him a little discount on what they needed, and they watched over him to let him know when the revenuers were coming into town, so he could make sure his inventory was protected. Towards the end of Prohibition, about 1938 or 39, our city fathers decided to get together and pass an ordinance banning scrapyards in Forest Lake. So we were forced to move out of Forest Lake with the business, and that's where we are now, is a piece of property they bought in what was a former township on 11th Avenue. But now the city hall is moving next door to us. Like I said, I don't have too many pictures of family business back then, so I've had to improvise a little bit. My father basically ended up working in the business since he was potty trained, but after he graduated high school, he went to work full-time with my father at their business in Forest Lake, well, obviously in Forest Lake. The first building, the small building in the front, was the only building they had there at the time. They were doing scrap metal and hides, and kept evolving the business. People came into them looking for salvaged pieces of iron or auto parts, and my dad seen an opportunity there that they could be reselling those instead of just hauling them down into the cities and selling them for scrap. And at that, as the years went on, he got into new steel, new pipe. They put up the second building, which the tin building there, in the early 50s as well. So here's just a little bit more of an overview of what it looked like in about 1970. My three uncles came on board as they graduated high school too. So we had Mel, Larry, and Mel, Jerry, and Louie, and I think some of you here know them. So I'd like to remind you what happens at the chamber stays at the chamber. But as the years went by, they kept growing, kept finding out what worked by talking to their customers, listening to what their customers were asking for. We added on more storage space. The building you're looking at there was put up in the mid-1980s, and that's got a large overhead crane in it. And racks, we handle all our steel in that warehouse. And then just a few years ago, we added on our last warehouse that we store all our plumbing and miscellaneous contractor type supplies in. So kind of a cliche, but I had to add this in here. Staying in business for 3 generations or 1 generation, you have to do something unique. You have to not only be able to listen to your customers, but also be able to adapt, to be able to have something different than somebody else doesn't have to offer to stay in business. Being in a family business doesn't always mean it's fun. There's times when you want to kill each other. There's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of different viewpoints of people trying to tell you, what you should do, what you shouldn't do, especially as you're the younger generation coming up and you know, your older generation, your fathers, your uncles don't think you really know as much as you should, but it's a good struggle. If you're passionate about it, it really makes a big difference. The fourth generation, my kids, I had to put it in there because they helped me with a PowerPoint. I do love them very much. Hopefully one of them might choose to join the family business. Maybe all three of them will. I guess I would like to see them pursue what they choose to be, follow their heart, and hopefully that does bring them to our family business or to a business what they're going to enjoy. With that, I'd like to say thank you.
Thank you. Thank you to all our speakers today. We do have time for Q&A if anybody has any questions for them. We are privileged to have you in our community, and thank you so much for everything that you do. We were kind of talking about fourth generation businesses and so forth, so just wondering if there is an interest. It sounds like from some of you there is an interest in the fourth generation or the third generation, and how do you kind of foresee that happening? Thank you so much. We couldn't do it without you. I am privileged to work in this community, and I appreciate all your support. Thank you so much.